Welcome to Brilliant Reads, a curated set of articles authored by our faculty. This is an easy-to-listen and understand, conversational-style explainer of an article. Enjoy the experience of reading with your ears.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into AI in healthcare, specifically some analysis by healthcare IT expert, what's his name, Vince Kuraitis? Yeah, Vince Kuraitis.
Oh, Kuraitis.
Right, he calls it the point solution paradox. And it's all about why AI's impact on healthcare is a bit more, let's say, complicated than just a bunch of cool new apps, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, on the surface, it seems like a perfect match, right? AI, it runs on data. Healthcare systems, they have tons of data. And then you add in this huge potential for improving, patient care. And, well, investors have been pouring money into these healthcare AI startups.
Totally. Like everyone's talking about it, right? This feeling that AI is going to revolutionize everything. But then you look around at, the healthcare system, and it doesn't exactly feel revolutionary yet, does it?
No, not really. And that's the paradox that Kuraitis is talking about. He points out that only a tiny fraction, like a mere 6%.
6%, wow.
Yeah, 6% of health systems actually have a real solid AI strategy in place.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's unpack that for a second. 6% is remarkably low. I mean, that suggests there's this huge gap between what AI could do and what's actually happening. And for our listener, what does a solid AI strategy even mean for a health system?
That's a great question. It's not just about buying the shiniest new AI gadget or anything. It's about having a plan for how to integrate these new technologies into the workflows that already exist. How do you train your staff? How do you manage data privacy, security, and then actually measure the impact it's having on patients?
So it's not enough to just have an app that can, I don't know, like analyze a medical image or predict if a patient might end up back in the hospital, right? You need a strategy to make sure these tools are actually making the entire system more efficient, more effective, not just making things more complicated, right?
Exactly. And that's where this point solution paradox thing comes in.
Okay, so break it down for us. What is this paradox? Why is it so important for understanding, this whole AI revolution or maybe the lack thereof?
Okay, so Kuraitis, he breaks down technology adoption into 3 phases, right? The first phase, which is pretty much where we are right now with AI in healthcare, is all about point solutions. These are basically like individual tools that are, often pretty impressive on their own, but they're designed to solve a very specific problem. Like, say, you have an algorithm that can help you detect cancer cells in a biopsy image, or maybe a chatbot that can triage a patient's symptoms.
Right, and those sound incredibly useful, like having a specialist on call 24/7. So where's the downside? What's the paradox?
Yeah, so the paradox is this. While these point solutions offer, very tantalizing glimpses of AI's potential, they can actually end up making one of the biggest problems in healthcare even worse, and that is fragmentation.
Fragmentation. Okay, for our listener who's not familiar with healthcare lingo, what does that mean?
So imagine you go to the doctor for, something pretty common, let's say high blood pressure. You're probably going to see your primary care physician, get a referral to a cardiologist. You might have some tests done at a separate lab. Each of those interactions, it might involve different providers, different electronic health record systems. You might even be communicating in different ways with each of them.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So all these separate point solutions, while potentially useful, like you said, on their own, they're not really designed to talk to each other, to share information or data or insights.
Exactly. They exist in their own little silos. And that's the heart of the point solution paradox. Instead of making things simpler, this wave of individual AI tools can actually make healthcare more complex, more siloed, just harder to navigate for both patients and providers.
It's like having every single kitchen gadget you can possibly imagine for every single little task, but no cohesive system for actually cooking a meal. You just end up with a counter full of gizmos and a more complicated process than if you used a knife and a cutting board, right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And that's exactly why this paradox is such a big deal, because healthcare systems are being incentivized to adopt these quick fixes, solutions that promise immediate results, even if those solutions don't really fit into a larger, more integrated strategy.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
Yeah.
You might feel a bit better temporarily, but the problem's still there.
Exactly. And this brings us to Kuraitis' next 2 phases of technology adoption. He calls them application solutions and system solutions. So application solutions, those are a step up from the point solutions. They create new processes, but they're still pretty much standalone. System solutions, that's the holy grail. These are technologies that can actually change the entire system, connect different parts, and streamline workflows from end to end.
So we're kind of stuck, right? Like we know the ideal is this big system-wide change, but we're surrounded by these point solutions. So do we just like press pause on everything and wait for the perfect system to show up?
Yeah, probably not going to happen. And honestly, probably not the best approach. I mean, innovation, it usually happens in these like bursts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these point solutions, they're at least giving us knowledge, building blocks. The good news is we're already seeing a shift to solutions that are a little more integrated.
Okay, now that's what I want to hear. Tell me more.
So one thing we're seeing is this rise of these AI platforms. So instead of having a different tool for everything, these platforms have a bunch of solutions that are already designed to work together, like an ecosystem, but for AI in healthcare.
So it's like taking all those separate kitchen gadgets and actually building them into a fully functional kitchen, right? They're designed to work together from the start.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Even those electronic health record systems, those EHRs, they're getting in on this whole AI thing.
EHRs? You mean the things that sometimes feel like the biggest source of fragmentation in healthcare?
Yeah, those. But think about it. They already have all this patient data. So now they're starting to build AI capabilities right into their platforms. Things like automated billing, AI helping schedule appointments, even some basic help with clinical decisions.
So the systems that felt like a bottleneck might actually become hubs for integrating AI. That's kind of a cool twist. So does that mean that like these big EHR companies, are they going to end up controlling healthcare AI? Or will it be those smaller startups, the ones who are usually driving the innovation?
Right. It's the big question, isn't it? Who's going to have that control? Who decides how these systems develop? We're going to have to keep asking those questions as things change.
It's definitely high stakes. But Kuraitis does seem optimistic, right? Like he does think that AI is going to revolutionize things.
Yeah, he does. I agree with him. But he also says it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. The winners, he says, are going to be the ones who can balance the innovation with integration. So build amazing technology, but make sure the technology actually works in the real world of healthcare.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's a good reminder for all of us, whether you're the person designing the tech or you're providing the healthcare or you're the patient, we're all part of shaping this. It's not just about the tech, it's about how we use it to make things better for everyone. So where do we go from here? If we know that like system-wide change is what we need, but we're kind of stuck in this middle ground, right? Do we just like stop with all these little point solutions and wait for the perfect system to, magically appear?
Well, that's probably not going to happen. And it's probably not the smartest way to go about it anyway. Innovation usually happens in like these little bursts. And each one of these point solutions, it's at least adding to what we know, right? The good news is that we are already starting to see things shift a bit, moving towards solutions that are a little bit more put together, more integrated.
Okay, now that's what I like to hear. Tell me more about this.
Well, one thing is that we're seeing these AI platforms starting to come up, so instead of having to use a completely separate tool for every single thing, these platforms are bringing together a bunch of different solutions that are designed to actually work together. It's like an ecosystem, but specifically for AI and healthcare.
So like we were talking about before, it's like someone took all those different kitchen gadgets and said, okay, let's build an actual kitchen where all this stuff works together. And they're designed to work that way from the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets kind of interesting here, too, because even those electronic health record systems, those EHRs, the ones, even those are getting in on the AI game now.
EHRs, those are the things that sometimes feel like they're actually making the fragmentation worse, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They've already got all the patient data, right? So they're starting to build AI right into them. Things like automating all the billing stuff, using AI to schedule appointments, even some very basic stuff to help doctors make decisions.
So the systems that felt like this big bottleneck, they might actually end up being the key to making AI work in healthcare. That's a pretty wild thought. But then does that mean that the big EHR companies, are they the ones who are going to end up controlling all this? Or will it be these smaller startups that are usually the ones coming up with the really new, innovative stuff?
Yeah, that is the big question, isn't it? It's like this power struggle, right?
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what these systems are going to look like, how they're going to work, how they get used? Those are definitely questions we're going to need to keep thinking about as things keep changing and developing.
It's high stakes, for sure. But going back to Kuraitis, he seems to be pretty optimistic about all of this, right? Like he really does seem to think that AI is going to be huge in healthcare.
He is, and, I tend to agree with him. But he's also careful to say that this is going to take a while. It's more like a marathon than a sprint, The ones who are really going to succeed, he says, are the ones who can do both, be innovative, come up with those cutting-edge technologies, but also figure out how to make those technologies actually work within the healthcare system, how to get them integrated so they're actually being used.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a good point for all of us, really. Whether we're the ones building the technology or we're the ones providing the healthcare, or even if we're the patients, we're all part of this. It's not just about the technology. It's about how we use it and how we make sure it's actually making things better for everyone. So as you keep learning about this whole world of AI in healthcare, and it seems like you're definitely interested in this, keep asking those questions. What kind of future do you want to see? What role are you going to play in getting us there?
Absolutely. Lots to think about.
For sure. Okay, until next time, everyone keep asking those big questions.
Thank you for listening. You can download this article at www.fastfuturebrilliantreads.com. Stay future, stay fast.